So when we started to develop what the world would be for Journey to Foundation, we really wanted to take into account obviously where the story would take the main character to, but we also wanted to create the idea of space, grand, and bringing a lot of variety in the environment that you're gonna explore.
And we were trying to find a balance between realism, high-tech, and sculpted, stylized look that is a little bit more bold, a little bit more eye-catching. And we tried to balance that between both the characters and the environments. Usually with high-end production like this, you take inspiration from many different places.
We're studying locations, characters, weapons that were well described previously, and we are aligning everything into the same style and complexity in terms of futuristic vision of Isaac Asimov.
What would make sense in the context of this empire collapsing? We wanted to keep something that also indicates visually the collapse. Some of the architecture has been created 1,000 years ago. Some of the technology is old and no one really knows how it works, but it's there and for some part it's actually falling apart. And so it's really this idea of the decline of the empire and how things used to be grand.
A similar concept appear in a lot of different media. Man and his hubris, they make this giant complex supposed to laugh in the face of Mother Nature, and that's what we see with the Array. It's a massive space station. The Empire uses it to oppress people or to help serve the people, depending on the needs of the Empire at any given time. It's a very fascinating complex to explore because it's so massive, and we really try to convey that scale, even though you're going through tight corridors or into small rooms, still trying really hard to convey that this is a very large space station that you're exploring.
Another environment that the players get to traverse and explore is a hostile planet called Tigra.
On this planet, we try to create the dangerous atmosphere created by the sharp alien rocks, and at the same time we show that the weather on the planet is quite toxic and quite dangerous.
And we also explore the Zor homeworld and other Zor type settings as well. Those offer a nice contrast to the player. When you're exploring Imperial environments, it's going to feel very militaristic. And then you go down to the Zor homeworld and now things open up. The environments are much more open. You're no longer getting that cold, metallic environment. You're now getting some warm, rustic environmental details.
A planet like Zoranel is colorful, very religious, so there's also temples that have been built all around the city. The different locations are really here to engage the player in discovering why and what's going on out there. I'm very excited about Zoranel. The way we built this mission, for instance, we used a lot of circularity. So the player will enter a plaza and see from the ground level temple and different buildings and things going on. But as they evolve into in the mission, they'll start looking at a different perspective from that same plaza. So they'll start evolving into escaping some of the people chasing them into rooftop. These rooftop, where they'll go into combat and traversal, will eventually lead to that same plaza, but from a higher ground this time.
It's one thing to always be in one flat plane. You want the player to see the environment they're in as many aspects as they can. Being able to traverse and get there by themselves, they choose to go there. One of the main techniques, and this is specific to VR as well, that when you are in an environment, there are so many different aspects of the environment that makes you, like, why do you want to go and explore a certain thing? And this is mainly done through different textures, different lighting. The lighting helps so much in guiding the player to be like, you can go here or you can go here. You can create immersion in many different ways.
When building a mission, what was important for me was to create a very strong sense of pacing. And pacing in a way of going between beats, between emotions, between sub-location within the level.
The thing that differentiates Journey Foundation from another sci-fi game would be the sheer variety of gameplay that we try to implement. So you're not just shooting your way through circumstances either. There's a really good combination of puzzles, narrative, traversal. We try to keep the pacing as fresh as possible by throwing as much variety as we can at the player.
We also have a very unique way through VR to engage in that participatory drama where the players are actually gesturally saluting some faction, or they're being pointed gun at and they have to raise their hands up. So we're trying to engage them to really not just listen to a story and evolve into it, but really take part of that story and contribute to the action, to the moments, and to the NPCs all together. So what I wish for the users that will play Journey to Foundation is feel like, wow, through the journey, the player will have a different roller coaster of emotion, and that's really what we're trying to accomplish. As VR game makers and as a creative director in this industry, my goal is to bring users on a roller coaster of emotion, period. And I believe they will go through different emotion, and that's really what we're pushing forward.